The Tanian High Council chambers fell silent as Admiral Kang activated the holographic display. The massive unknown vessel that had appeared at the edge of their territory hung suspended in the air before them, its dark angular hull bristling with what were unmistakably weapon systems. "This vessel appeared 3 cycles ago," Kang explained, his 4 primary eyes blinking nervously. "It matches no known configuration in our database of the 17 spacefaring species within the Galactic Concordat." Supreme Counselor Yuna leaned forward, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. "Have they responded to communication attempts?" "Not in any way we can understand," Kang replied. "They transmit strange bursts of modulated radio signals that our systems cannot decode. Our attempts to establish psychic communion have been rebuffed." "Rebuffed?" asked Yuna. "It's as if there's nothing there to connect with," Kang said, his voice dropping. "Like trying to commune with a void." The military advisor, General Tay, circled the hologram with growing concern. "Look at the structural design. These aren't trade or exploration vessels. The whole composition suggests extreme durability. Those protrusions are almost certainly weapon emplacements." "You believe this is a warship?" Yuna asked. "Without question," Tai confirmed. "A species that builds vessels like this has evolved with conflict as a primary driver. We may have encountered something entirely unprecedented, a truly predatory intelligent species." A chill spread through the council chamber. In the 5,000 years since the Tanians had achieved spaceflight, they had met many species, some with strange bodies, odd customs, or unique ways of thinking, but all had been fundamentally peaceful. The idea of a species that built ships designed for war was almost beyond their understanding. "We must approach with greater caution," said Yuna, her voice steady despite her fear. "Send our fastest scout ships to monitor from a safe distance." "Already done," said Kang. "They report the vessel is moving slowly toward the Venta star system." Elder Min, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "The Venta system has 3 of our colony worlds." The room grew tense. Ta's secondary eyes narrowed. "If this is a predatory species seeking resources or territory, we must not jump to conclusions," Yuma interrupted. "There could be many reasons for their course. Perhaps they are simply curious. Perhaps they seek fuel or repairs. Or perhaps they seek conquest," said Ta. "We should ready our defense fleet." Kang looked uncomfortable. "Our defense fleet was designed to handle space debris and guide ships safely through asteroid fields. We have no true warships." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Ta with growing frustration. "I suggest we learn more," said Yuna firmly. "Send a contact team. Keep them at a safe distance, but try all forms of communication again. And prepare evacuation plans for the Venta colonies, just to be safe." 3 days later, Science Officer Han stood on the bridge of the contact vessel Light of Knowledge as it maintained position 5,000 units from the massive alien ship. The vessel was even more impressive up close. Its hull was made of some dark material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, and strange blue energy pulsed from vents along its spine. "Any response to our latest transmission?" Han asked the communications specialist beside him. "Nothing we can understand," she replied. "But there is something new. They're sending the same pattern of signals over and over. It could be an attempt to establish a baseline for communication." Han nodded. "Keep sending our welcome message in all frequencies. And what about the psychic probes?" "Still nothing. It's like their minds are shielded somehow. I've never felt anything like it." Han was about to respond when the ship's proximity alarm sounded. "What's happening?" "The alien vessel has launched several small craft," reported the sensor operator. "They're moving in a pattern around the main ship." Han watched as the small alien craft moved with amazing precision, forming a perfect circle around their mothership. The display of coordination and technology was both beautiful and terrifying. "Are they preparing to attack?" asked the pilot nervously. "I don't know," Han admitted. "But they've had plenty of chances to attack already if that was their intention. I think this is something else. Suddenly, the small alien crafts began to emit strong signals, stronger than before and on a wider range of frequencies. They're trying harder to communicate, Han realized. Redirect all our receivers to focus on those small craft. For hours, the light of knowledge stayed in position, receiving and analyzing the alien signals. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The alien messages contained mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, simple equations. These were followed by simple images: a circle, a square, 2 points connected by a line. They're building a communication bridge, Han said with growing excitement. They're showing us they understand mathematics and basic concepts. Now they're sending images of stars. I think they're showing us where they come from. As night fell, the crew of the Light of Knowledge had made their first breakthrough in understanding the aliens. They had learned that the beings called themselves humans and came from a planet called Earth in a star system far beyond the known regions of space. But most surprising was what they learned about the nature of these humans. Yes, their vessel was indeed a warship. The humans made no attempt to hide this fact. But they explained that they built such ships for protection, not conquest. They had evolved on a world filled with predators and had needed to become strong to survive. Han sent an urgent message back to the High Council. The aliens, the humans, are indeed warriors, but they are not mindless predators. They have art, science, and a deep desire for peace despite their capacity for war. They wish to meet with our leaders to establish formal relations. The response from the Council came quickly: approach with caution. Invite a small delegation to meet at the neutral space station at the edge of the Venta system. We will learn more about these humans and decide if they can be trusted. As Han prepared the invitation, he couldn't help but feel that the galaxy had just become a much more complex place. The humans, with their strange mix of warrior strength and peaceful intentions, would change everything the Tanians thought they knew about the nature of intelligent life. Captain Sue stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, Earth's first long-range military exploration vessel. The mission had been clear: push beyond their solar system, establish a human presence in the galaxy, and ensure humanity's future among the stars. Status report, she ordered, watching the alien vessels that had surrounded them at a cautious distance. 17 alien ships maintaining formation, Captain. Lieutenant Commander Park reported. Their energy signatures suggest advanced propulsion technology, but their weapons systems appear less sophisticated than ours. Any progress on communications? Sue asked. Communications Officer Lee shook his head. They've sent some kind of psionic probe at us several times. Our psi-dampening fields are blocking it, but I think they're trying to establish direct mental contact. A telepathic species, Sue mused. Interesting evolutionary path. But problematic for diplomacy, added Dr. Kim, the xenobiologist. They may interpret our psionic blocking as hostile. They might not understand the concept of a non-telepathic sentient species. Sue nodded. Prepare a first contact package with basic mathematical principles and visual communication, and maintain defensive posture. If humanity's first steps into the galaxy have taught us anything, it's better to be prepared and not needed. Captain Sue walked to the large front window of the bridge. The stars looked different here, so far from Earth. After 3 years of travel, the Pathfinder had finally reached its goal: to make contact with alien life. But this was not what they had expected. Instead of finding one alien ship, they had found an entire civilization. Captain, Park said, I've analyzed their fleet structure. It seems most of their vessels are scientific or exploratory in nature. Only 3 appear to have any defensive capabilities at all, and even those are minimal. Sue nodded slowly. In the 2 weeks since they had first encountered the alien ships, the Pathfinder crew had learned much about their technology by passive scanning. The aliens, who called themselves Tanians according to the basic communication they had established, were clearly advanced in many ways. Their ships moved with incredible precision. Their energy systems were efficient beyond anything humans had achieved. but they seem to have almost no weapons. It's as if they evolved without the concept of conflict, Dr. Kim said, joining Sue at the window. Their ships have no armor plating, minimal shield technology, and what few energy projectors they have are likely designed for clearing space debris, not combat. Hard to imagine, Sue replied. A species that never needed to fight. Lee called from his station. Captain, I've completed the first contact package. Basic mathematics, simple pictograms showing human form, solar system configuration, and peaceful intent. Deploy the communication buoys, Sue ordered. Let's see if we can establish a proper dialogue. The Pathfinder's hangar bay opened, and 6 small unmanned buoys launched in perfect formation. Each was programmed to position itself at an optimal broadcast distance and begin transmitting the first contact package. The alien vessels are moving, Park reported suddenly. They appear to be backing away from our buoys. Sue frowned. They think we're attacking. Lee, increase the broadcast power. Make it clear these are communication devices. I'm trying, Captain, but... Lee paused, his eyes widening at his console. Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in the alien vessels. It looks like they're preparing to fire. Sue's training took over instantly. Raise shields. Do not arm weapons. I repeat, do not arm weapons. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Pathfinder's shield system hummed to life, creating an invisible barrier around the ship. It was a purely defensive action, but Sue realized too late how it might appear to the aliens. They're charging weapons, Park confirmed. Low yield, but definitely directed energy weapons. Hold position, Sue said firmly. Everyone stay calm. This is still a first contact scenario. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Weapons Officer Jin's hand hovered near the weapons controls, but he did not activate them, following Sue's orders exactly. Captain, Dr. Kim said quietly, if they're truly telepathic, they might be sensing our anxiety right now. Even through the psi dampeners, strong emotions might leak through. Sue took a deep breath and forced herself to project calm. All crew, control your emotions. Think peaceful thoughts. Several crew members exchanged looks that mixed confusion and nervous smiles, but they did their best. A sudden flash of light caught everyone's attention. One of the alien vessels had fired, a pulse of energy that dissipated harmlessly against the Pathfinder shields. Shields holding at 99.8%, Park reported. That was barely more than a light show, Captain. They're testing us, Sue realized. Or warning us. 2 more flashes followed as more alien ships fired similar pulses. Still no significant damage to shields, Park confirmed. Sue made a quick decision. Jin, prepare a demonstration. Target that large asteroid at bearing 045. 1 kinetic round, minimum yield. Yes, Captain. The Pathfinder's main railgun silently aligned. With barely a shudder, the ship launched a single round, a small tungsten slug that accelerated to near relativistic speed. Seconds later, the distant asteroid erupted in a flash of light as the kinetic energy of impact converted to heat and light. All alien vessels have ceased charging weapons, Park reported, a hint of relief in his voice. They got the message, Sue said. We could have targeted them, but chose not to. Lee, broadcast the first contact package again, maximum power. For the next several hours, the bridge crew worked tirelessly. Slowly, methodically, they established a rudimentary form of communication with the Tanians. First mathematics, then simple concepts, then basic language. They're sending us coordinates, Lee announced finally. I believe they're inviting us to a meeting at a space station in a nearby system. Sue smiled. Set course, half speed. Let's not appear too eager or too threatening. As the Pathfinder changed direction, Sue called for a private meeting with her senior staff. We need to prepare for direct contact, she told them. Dr. Kim, I want protocols for biological safety. Park, security measures. Jin, our diplomatic team will be unarmed, but I want a response team ready just in case. "Captain," Dr. Kim asked, "do you think they'll be hostile when they meet us face to face?" Sue considered the question carefully. "No, I don't. I think they'll be cautious, maybe even afraid. We've just shown them something they've never seen before, a species that evolved with conflict as part of its nature. Our job is to show them that humanity's capacity for war doesn't define us, that we can be both warriors and diplomats, both protective and peaceful." As the Pathfinder moved toward the meeting point, Captain Sue looked at the stars again. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact with alien life. It hadn't gone perfectly, but it wasn't a disaster either. Now came the real challenge, building trust with a species so different from their own that they couldn't even imagine conflict. "I think," she said quietly to herself, "this is just the beginning of a very interesting friendship." The Tanian Fleet Admiral, Jun, watched with growing alarm as the human vessel deployed small craft from its hangar bay. "What are they doing?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "Unknown, Admiral. The smaller vessels appear to be positioning themselves in a defensive formation around the larger one." In reality, the human shuttles were deploying communication buoys, a standard first contact protocol. But to species that had never known war, the precise, disciplined movement of craft appeared disturbingly militaristic. On the Pathfinder, Captain Sue was growing frustrated. Why are they backing away? The buoys are clearly non-weaponized. "Captain," Park interjected urgently, "their vessels are powering up some kind of energy field. I think they're interpreting our actions as aggressive." Sue made a split-second decision. "Raise shields, but do not arm weapons. I want to show them we're defensive, not offensive." The human shield technology activated, creating a shimmering bubble around the Pathfinder that the Tanians had never seen before. To them, it appeared as if the human vessel had just deployed some kind of energy weapon system, confirming their worst fears. "They're charging weapons," Lee shouted as the alien ships began to glow with energy. Sue stood firm. "Hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon. This is still a first contact scenario." Admiral Jun's vessel, the Harmony of Stars, was the largest in the Tanian fleet. It was not built for war. No Tanian ship was, but it was equipped with energy projectors designed to clear space debris. Now, those same projectors were being hastily reconfigured as weapons. "The alien vessel has activated some kind of energy field," reported Jun, the tactical officer. "Our sensors cannot penetrate it." Jun's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in Tanians. "What are their small craft doing now?" "They have stopped moving, Admiral. They appear to be broadcasting something." "A weapon?" "No, Admiral. It appears to be data, complex signals on multiple frequencies." Jun hesitated. In his 200 years of service, he had never faced a situation like this. The High Council had been clear: observe the aliens, attempt communication, but take no risks with Tanian lives. "Order all ships to maintain safe distance," Jun decided. "Continue monitoring their broadcasts. Perhaps this is some form of communication after all." On the bridge of the science vessel Clear Mind, Science Officer Bo was frantically analyzing the signals from the human buoys. "These aren't attack patterns," she insisted to her captain. "These are communication attempts. Look at the mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric principles. These are universal concepts." "Then why did they surround their ship with these devices?" the captain asked. "Why not simply transmit from their main vessel?" Bo had no answer for that. The human behavior made no sense from a Tanian perspective. Why would anyone need 6 separate devices just to send a message? Meanwhile, on the Pathfinder, Captain Sue was dealing with her own confusion. "Their ships are still charging energy, but they haven't fired," Park reported. "They're maintaining formation at exactly 10,000 kilometers distance. At least they're not running away anymore." Sue said, "Lee, are they responding to our communication attempts?" "Nothing clear yet, Captain. Wait, I'm detecting a new signal. It's It's a mathematical sequence. They're responding with prime numbers. A cheer went up on the bridge. First contact protocols were working. The aliens understood basic mathematics, the universal language. Respond with the next sequence, Sue ordered. Then begin the pictogram series. For the next hour, both sides cautiously exchanged simple mathematical concepts, building toward more complex communication. The tension began to ease slightly, but the Tanian ships maintained their distance, and the Pathfinder kept its shields raised. Admiral June was in constant communication with the High Council during this exchange. "They appear to be peaceful," he reported, "but their ship design and behavior suggest they are a species accustomed to conflict. We should proceed with extreme caution." On the Council view screen, Supreme Counselor Yuna nodded gravely. "We must learn more about them. What drives a species to build vessels designed for war? What kind of evolutionary path leads to such development? Perhaps we should invite them to the neutral station in the Venta system," suggested General Tai, who was also on the call. "It would be safer than allowing them near our home worlds." "Agreed," said Yuna. "Admiral June, transmit coordinates for the Venta station once basic communication is established." Back on the Pathfinder, the crew was making rapid progress in understanding the Tanian communication methods. "They're visual thinkers," Dr. Kim explained, studying the incoming signals. "Their language seems to be based on shared mental imagery, rather than sounds or written symbols. Our psi-dampening fields are probably blocking most of their normal communication methods. Can we adjust the fields to allow limited telepathic contact?" Sue asked. "It's risky," Kim warned. "Our brains aren't structured for direct mental contact. It could be overwhelming." "I'll volunteer," said Lee suddenly. "I've had psi sensitivity training." Captain Sue considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Set up a controlled environment in the medical bay. Dr. Kim will monitor your vital signs. We'll lower the psi-dampening fields in that section only, and only for short periods." As preparations were made for this new communication attempt, Jun reported something alarming to Admiral June. "The alien ship is changing its energy configuration, Admiral. They appear to be opening a hole in their defensive field." "A trap?" Jun wondered aloud. "Unknown, sir, but they're transmitting new signals, images of their own species, and I think they're trying to show us they want to meet face to face." This was a critical moment. The Tanians had never encountered a potentially dangerous species before. All previous first contacts had been with peaceful explorers like themselves. The humans, with their warship and strange behaviors, were something entirely new. "Transmit the coordinates for the Venta station," Jum decided, "but inform them that we will meet only under strict safety protocols." The message was sent, and the humans responded quickly. They agreed to the meeting location and to the safety measures. They even suggested some additional protocols of their own, an encouraging sign that they too were concerned about mutual safety. Slowly, cautiously, the misunderstanding began to dissolve. The human ship lowered its shields completely as a sign of good faith. The Tanian ships moved closer, no longer charging their energy projectors. In the medical bay of the Pathfinder, Officer Lee experienced the first direct telepathic contact with a Tanian mind. The experience was strange but not painful, like having a vivid dream while fully awake. "They're curious about us," Lee reported afterward. "They've never encountered a species that builds ships for defense or war. They don't even have a concept for it in their language. And we've never encountered a species that evolved without predators or conflict," Dr. Kim mused. "This could be the most significant cultural exchange in human history." As both fleets set course for the Venta station, Captain Sue recorded a log entry. "First contact day 3. Initial misunderstanding resolved. We're learning that the Tanians represent a completely different evolutionary path than humanity, one without the pressures of predation or territorial conflict. They find our very existence both fascinating and frightening. As we prepare for face-to-face contact, I can't help but wonder, what will they think of us once they truly understand what it means to be human?" The first shot came not from aggression but fear. A junior Tanian officer, overwhelmed by the presence of what their entire culture interpreted as a predator species, fired a warning pulse that dissipated harmlessly against the Pathfinder shields. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. The human warship did not immediately retaliate. Instead, it held position, absorbing 3 more frightened shots before Captain Sue authorized a precision demonstration of force. A single kinetic round fired into empty space that accelerated to relativistic speeds, creating a flash of light as it impacted an asteroid millions of kilometers distant. The display of power and restraint simultaneously was something the Tanians could not comprehend, a predator that did not immediately attack when provoked. A warship that could have destroyed their entire fleet but chose not to. Admiral June ordered an immediate ceasefire. This changes everything we understand about predator psychology, he whispered. On the Pathfinder, Sue seized the moment. Send the first contact package on all frequencies. Maximum power. Let's try this again. Hours later, rudimentary communication was established. The Tanians learned of humanity, a species born on a world of predators and prey, who had evolved not just to hunt but to protect, not just to fight but to make peace. The junior officer who fired the first shot was named Ben. He stood now before Admiral June, his body posture showing deep shame. His 4 eyes were cast downward, and his crystalline exoskeleton had dulled, a physical sign of extreme distress in Tanians. I acted without orders, Admiral. I will accept any punishment. Admiral June studied the young officer. Tell me why you fired, Ben. I felt fear, Admiral. When I looked at their ship, I felt something I had never felt before. As if I was prey. June nodded slowly. You acted on instinct, an instinct our species has almost lost through millions of years of peaceful evolution. I cannot blame you for that. What will happen now? Ben asked. Now, said June, we learn. The humans have shown us something we never thought possible. On the main deck of the Tanian flagship, scientists and communication specialists worked frantically to process the flood of information coming from the human vessel. The first contact package was extensive, containing basic information about human biology, culture, history, and intentions. Science Officer Min looked up from her console, her eyes wide with wonder. Admiral, you need to see this. The humans have sent images of their home world. The view screen activated, showing pictures of Earth, blue oceans, green continents, swirling white clouds. But what followed shocked the Tanians to their core. Images of countless different animals, many with sharp teeth, powerful claws, and predatory features. Lions stalking prey across open plains, sharks swimming through deep oceans, eagles swooping down from the sky. Their world is full of predators, Min said in awe. And not just small ones, massive creatures that hunt and kill other animals. And the humans? Asked June. They evolved as prey first, then became predators themselves. But look at this. The images changed to show human history. Early tribes hunting with spears, then building walls around villages, then developing more complex societies. There were images of wars, yes, but also of peace treaties, medical advances, art, and space exploration. They had to become strong to survive, Min explained. Their entire evolution was shaped by conflict, both against nature and against themselves. Admiral June watched the images with growing understanding. And that's why they built a warship for exploration, because they expect danger everywhere they go. Yes, Admiral, but there's more. They're sending us live video feed now. They want us to see inside their ship. The screen changed again, now showing the bridge of the Pathfinder. Captain Sue stood in the center, looking directly at the camera. She was speaking, and their translation systems were now advanced enough to convert her words. People of the Tanian fleet, she said, we apologize for the misunderstanding. We come in peace. Our ship is designed for defense because on our world, survival often depends on being prepared for dangers. But we are explorers first, warriors only when necessary. Captain Sue gestured around her bridge, where crew members worked at various stations. We wish to learn about your culture and share our own. We believe different evolutionary paths can lead to friendship and mutual benefit. The message was clear, simple, and direct. The Tanians watched in fascination as the camera moved through different parts of the human ship. They saw the crew quarters, where humans rested. They saw the hydroponics bay, where plants from Earth grew. They saw the recreation area, where humans played games and exercised. These were not mindless predators. They were complex beings with culture, art, science, and a deep curiosity about the universe. Admiral Jun made his decision. Send a message to their captain. Invite her to meet me in person at the Venta station. Small teams only, 5 members each. On the Pathfinder, Captain Sue received the invitation with relief. They're willing to meet. We didn't ruin first contact after all. They seem fascinated by us, said Dr. Kim, who had been analyzing the Tanian responses. Our very existence challenges their understanding of intelligent life. They evolved without significant predators or competition for resources. Their entire society is built on cooperation rather than competition. And we can learn from that, Sue said. Choose the team carefully, Doctor. We need to make a good impression. 2 days later, the Pathfinder docked at the Venta space station. The structure was beautiful. A crystalline wheel spinning gently in space, catching the light of the nearby star and breaking it into rainbow patterns. Captain Sue led her small team through the airlock. She had chosen Dr. Kim for his cynobiological expertise, Officer Lee for his budding telepathic abilities, Lieutenant Park for security, and Engineer Jin to demonstrate human technical knowledge. The Tanian delegation waited in a large circular chamber. Admiral Jun stood at the front, his crystalline body glittering in the station's light. Behind him were 4 other Tanians of various colors and sizes. For a long moment, both groups simply looked at each other. The differences were striking. The humans, bipedal, soft-skinned, with 2 eyes and complex facial expressions. The Tanians, 4-limbed, crystalline-bodied, with 4 eyes arranged in a circle around their head domes and no discernible mouth. We welcome you to Tanian space, Admiral Jun said, his words translated by the devices both groups carried. Though I must admit, you are not what we expected to find in the cosmos. Nor did we expect to find beings like you, Captain Sue replied with a small bow. Our differences make this meeting all the more valuable. The formal introductions soon gave way to eager questions from both sides. The Tanians wanted to understand how humans could be both predators and peacekeepers. The humans wanted to know how a species could evolve such advanced technology without the pressure of conflict driving innovation. Officer Lee, working with a Tanian communication specialist, established a careful telepathic link that allowed for deeper understanding than words alone could provide. Through this link, the Tanians experienced, briefly and safely, what it felt like to be human. The complex mix of cooperation and competition, the drive to protect one's family and community, the capacity for both violence and profound compassion. In return, the humans glimpsed the Tanian way of being, the constant mental connection to others of their kind, the natural harmony that came from evolving without predation, the focus on growth and exploration rather than defense and conquest. As the meeting ended, Admiral Jun offered a formal statement that would be remembered for centuries to come. Today, we have discovered that the universe is more diverse than we imagined. The human capacity for both violence and restraint, for both war and peace, shows us that evolution follows many paths. We have much to learn from each other and much to gain from friendship between our kinds. Captain Sue nodded in agreement. And perhaps each of our species has developed strengths the other lacks. Together, we might be stronger than either of us alone. It was the beginning of an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. 6 months after the near-disastrous first contact, Captain Sue stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat, the first human to address the assembled representatives of 17 alien civilizations. "We understand now why our presence caused such alarm," she began. "In a galaxy where sentient life evolved primarily from cooperative species, humanity's predator origins make us unique. Our warships reflect not a desire for conquest, but the harsh realities of our evolutionary path." Supreme Counselor Yuna, now a cautious ally, translated for those species whose communication systems remained incompatible with human speech. "But it is precisely because we understand conflict that we value peace," Sue continued. "Humanity does not seek to dominate, but to join you as partners. Our military vessels exist to protect, not conquer." The assembled representatives murmured as Yuna added her own thoughts. "The humans have shown us something we never considered, that strength and compassion can coexist, that as species evolve for war can choose peace." In the years that followed, human warships became a common sight throughout the Concordat's territories, not as conquerors but as guardians. The species that had evolved without predators had never needed to develop significant defensive capabilities. Now, with humanity's protection, the Concordat entered a new era of exploration and prosperity. The moment aliens encountered their first human warship became not a prelude to conflict, but the beginning of an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. For in humanity, the peaceful species of the stars found something they had never known they needed: a protector. The great hall fell silent as Captain Sue finished her speech. The 17 species of the Galactic Concordat looked at her with a mix of wonder, fear, and hope. Each species had a different form. Some were crystalline like the Tanians, others were gaseous beings contained in special suits, and some looked almost like plants with moving vines and flowering sensory organs. Captain Sue waited as her words were translated into the many languages of the Concordat. She stood tall in her formal Earth Fleet uniform, the blue and silver colors chosen to look peaceful while still showing human military precision. Supreme Counselor Yuna moved forward, her crystalline body catching the light from the hall's many windows. "The Council will now vote on the human petition to join the Galactic Concordat." The voting process was unlike anything humans had seen before. Each representative moved to the center of the hall and shared their thoughts telepathically with the group. For species that could not connect mentally, like humans, translation devices provided their words. The representative of the Florian species, beings that looked like walking trees, spoke first. "The humans are dangerous. Their history is full of war. Their ships are built for destruction. How can we trust them?" Murmurs of agreement spread through the hall. Captain Sue remained calm, though she felt a knot in her stomach. This was the moment that would decide humanity's place in the galaxy. Then Admiral June stepped forward. In the 6 months since first contact, he had become humanity's strongest ally among the Tanians. 6 lunar cycles ago, my fleet encountered the human warship Pathfinder, he said. "We were afraid. We saw their weapons and assumed they were conquerors. We even fired upon them in our fear." The hall grew quiet. This part of the story was not widely known among the Concordat species. "The humans could have destroyed us easily," June continued. "Their weapons technology far surpasses our defensive capabilities. But they chose restraint. They chose peace when provoked. Is this not the highest form of wisdom?" A representative of the gaseous Brezen species floated forward in their containment suit. "But what guarantee do we have that these humans will not one day turn their warships against us? Power corrupts, as we have all learned." Captain Sue stepped forward again. "We offer no guarantees except our actions. In the 6 months since we met the Tanians, human ships have helped establish 3 new trade routes, rescued a Florian science vessel lost in the Crimson Nebula, and provided defensive escorts for Concordat ships through regions of space with dangerous natural phenomena." She paused, looking around the room. "We asked to join the Concordat not to change you, but to complement you. You have arts, sciences, and philosophies that developed over millennia of peaceful cooperation. We have protective instincts and defensive technologies that evolved from our more challenging origins. Supreme Counselor Yuna raised her crystalline arms for silence. I have studied human history extensively since our first contact. Yes, it contains war and conflict, but it also contains countless examples of sacrifice for others, of standing against oppression, of using strength to protect the weak. She turned to face the assembly. Before we encountered humans, we believed that predator species could never achieve true civilization, that the path to intelligence required cooperation, not competition. The humans have proven us wrong, and in doing so, have opened our minds to new possibilities. The vote that followed was not unanimous, but it was decisive. By a large majority, the Galactic Concordat accepted humanity as its 18th member species. The celebration afterward was a fascinating mix of cultural traditions. Humans shared their music and dance. The Tanians created beautiful light patterns with their crystalline bodies. The Florians released sweet-smelling spores that made everyone feel happy and peaceful. Captain Sue found herself standing with Admiral June at the edge of the celebration. 6 months ago, you thought we were monsters, she said with a small smile. And you thought we were naive children, he replied. Perhaps we were both right, in some ways. They watched as human crew members from the Pathfinder taught some young Tanians a simple earth dance. Nearby, a human scientist was deep in conversation with a present philosopher, their translation devices working overtime to keep up with their excited exchange of ideas. The galaxy is changing, Jim observed. Already, 3 Concordat species have requested human protection for their scientific expeditions to the outer regions, and 4 human universities have established exchange programs with Concordat learning centers, Sue added. My nephew is learning Tanian crystal art at your academy on Venta 3. A year later, the partnership faced its first real test when a previously unknown species attacked a Florian colony world. The attackers were not like the peaceful Concordat species. They were conquerors who had evolved much like humans, in a world of conflict and predation. But unlike humans, they had never balanced their aggressive instincts with compassion and cooperation. The Earth fleet, now fully integrated with Concordat defense systems, responded immediately. 5 human warships, led by Captain Sue's new command, the UES Guardian, engaged the attackers. It was the first time the Concordat species had seen humans in actual combat, and many watched the battle with a mixture of horror and fascination. The efficiency and precision of the human ships was breathtaking. They coordinated their movements perfectly, using tactics developed through centuries of human military history. The battle was over quickly, with the attackers retreating back to their territory. Afterward, many expected the humans to pursue and destroy the enemy fleet. That was what predators did, after all. They finish what they started. But Captain Sue ordered her ships to maintain position, protecting the Florian colony without pushing for further conflict. We are guardians, not conquerors, she explained later to the Concordat Council. We will defend your worlds with all our strength, but we will not use that strength for vengeance or expansion. 5 years after that first encounter between the Pathfinder and the Tanian fleet, the Galactic Concordat had changed dramatically. Human defense technology had been integrated into all major Concordat installations. Concordat telepathic abilities had revolutionized human medicine and psychology. The combined knowledge of 18 different evolutionary paths had accelerated scientific progress for all species. But perhaps the most profound change was philosophical. The Concordat species learned that strength could exist without aggression, that protection did not mean control. The humans learned that cooperation could be more than a strategy. It could be a way of life. As a memorial to this new understanding, a statue was erected at the exact coordinates where the Pathfinder first encountered the Tanian fleet. It showed a human hand and a Tanian crystal appendage reaching toward each other across space. The inscription, written in all 18 languages of the Concordat, read simply, "Different paths, same stars."